Namaste mere dosto, Elizabeth Thakur here. And first of all, before I get started with this video, I just want to come on here and thank all of you from the bottom of my heart of how much love and support you've given me. It means so much to me. Please continue to do it. It encourages me to make more videos about what really matters right now. So thanks again, Jai Shri Ram. So during this video, I want to talk about what makes Hinduism so different from Christianity. So completely different that we need to add in the title Hinduism versus Christianity. So I want to talk about major topics of this. The first one is about how lots of religions kind of bind you toward like a fixed set of rules. Let's talk about the word religion first. The word religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to bind oneself to something. So when we talk about binding oneself to something, what we're really talking about is binding yourself to an organized set of rules. You have to stick with these rules and not go outside of them, or you're doomed to some sort of punishment for eternity. Because of this reason, you're not allowed to seek out any type of spirituality outside of this organized religion. Everything else is deemed evil. This is where a lot of people get trapped because in my experience, when I was taking baby steps on my journey to becoming and discovering who I really am, I was told that yoga calls out to demons. So I was practicing yoga, I was being told that it was evil. I should not do it at all. It was kind of prohibited. At that time, I thought, this is reminding me of when the Catholic Church was after so many astronomers in the past, like in the 17th century. They wanted to execute them just for saying that the Earth is not the center of the universe. And this was obviously proven to be fact later on in science. We know now that this Earth is not the center of the universe, and that the sun is in fact the center of the solar system. That is something that Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, has known for way longer than Christianity has ever been around, or any of these other Christian-like religions. It is also a fact that in Hinduism, you are allowed to believe in whatever you want to believe. There's no book or set doctrine that tells you that you are not able to believe in something. You're allowed to have any beliefs as long as it's not hurting anybody. That is one thing Hinduism does teach. That's what makes Hinduism very accepting to all religions. And that is what makes Hinduism extremely different from Christianity. The second thing that makes Hinduism so extremely different from Christianity is that Hinduism does not have a caste system. Shocker, I know. The word caste actually came from the Europeans before arriving to Bharat. The caste system was actually invented to divide in any way they can, and a lot of Christians also had this ideology called manifest destiny, which means that once they set foot on a land, God has given them the right to take whatever they want and own that land. You know, once they stumble upon land that is considered not claimed. So that is something to, you know, think about as well. And that's a belief system they used here before the United States was the United States. There were natives with territories. They said that all this land was unclaimed, so they had a right to claim it under manifest destiny. By God, they had that right, according to Christianity. Some Christians will see a certain person and automatically judge a person based on their appearance. They will often say things like, this person is poor because they're dressed very simply. I used to work at a Christian employer, and I was wanting a job, a higher department. There was a lady that told me that since I was not wearing fancy fashion clothes, I was wearing a sweater and a business casual simple pant, She said that I looked poor, she laughed at me, and that was the end of the interview. So she didn't even take the time to interview me because I didn't look classy enough, in her opinion. I didn't look rich. I am not saying these things out of any type of, dislike. There's a lot of great Christians out there that help people. I'm not saying that whole religion is bad. I'm just telling you about my experience of the things that I've dealt with throughout my life that gave me lots of trauma and pushed me away from wanting to be further involved in Christianity. Also on YouTube, there have been people that have said that just because I'm at a picnic table, I look poor eating at a picnic table, rich, poor, or middle class. Everybody goes to a picnic table. That's just pretty normal. From what I've seen, there have been a lot of Christians and Christian-like faiths that put a lot of emphasis on money. If you go and you volunteer at a church, and this has also been my experience, they don't give very much importance to people that volunteer. They don't consider time as very valuable. What they do consider valuable is how much money you put into the church. That's been in my experience, that when I've been to a church, I haven't been given that much importance. That is one thing that I've noticed that's completely different at a Hindu temple, and this has just been my experience at a Hindu temple in the United States. I'm not saying that this is happening in Bharat or India. I'm not saying that because I don't know what's going on in Bharat. I really don't, in terms of how things go on there with the temples. But I know for a fact here that when I go to temples and I volunteer, they give me high importance. They consider time as extremely valuable, and they say that time is something that you can never get back. Money, you can always, work hard to get back. At some point you can have it again, or you can lose it, whatever. But time is something you can't ever, get back. That's why it's so valuable. That is something that doesn't happen at the church. Another reason why I say that they put a lot of emphasis on money, which creates division, is that you'll see sometimes, and I've seen this, there are ministers that make a lot of money from the donations at the church. So they will have a BMW, a very expensive car that, most devotees of the church won't have. You see a lot of people feeling very low when they see the minister have this really nice car and a castle for a house or a mansion or whatever. So it's not fair. And I've seen some ministers even in Houston, I won't mention any names, but if you look it up, it's there. There was a minister that had a really big church in Houston, and during one of the hurricanes that hit Houston, he was not allowing any of his devotees to enter the church for shelter when their home got destroyed. So it's things like that that make it seem that there's lots of division in the church between the rich and the poor. One time I actually went to a Kalyanam at the Hindu temple. I've been to lots of Kalyanams, but I love all of the Kalyanams that are there. I've noticed a lot of things about the Kalyanams at the Hindu temple. What happens is you'll see people all mixed in together, rich, poor, middle class. They're all in the same area. Nobody's divided there. Everybody is together. And when the pundits want to give something special for some of the people that have donated quite a bit of money to the temple or volunteers, they will give them a special puja involved in that Kalyanam, which is really, really nice. And they'll just come around to them rather than giving them like one big space in the front. They are very together with making it look fair for everyone. That is really beautiful and wonderful. The third point I want to make about Hinduism being so different from Christianity is that in Christianity, there's a huge discrimination of people with other faiths. Many times I've witnessed people coming into the temple labeling everything as devil worship. Also, I know some other faiths that have experienced lots of backlash and hate mail from Christian churches. I've read some of the hate mail. the churches would send like threatening letters to these communities that are non-Christian, and they would say that you're gonna go to hell. They threaten them with this, and then they say to get out of the community. Horrible things that in a free country you don't think would be something that people would experience. If someone wants to seek another form of spirituality in order for them to understand their place in this world, they're not hurting anyone. A lot of Christians, when they are loving freedom and for the freedom of the United States, they will bash people of other faiths a lot. And that's very sad, because why are we in this country? We're in this country because we feel that we are going to have a say. We're going to be able to speak up about what makes us unique. We should be encouraging others to live more peacefully and happily, regardless of what they believe. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that at all. Diversity must be embraced and not be discriminated against. The fourth thing I want to talk about that makes Hinduism so different from Christianity is the energy. When you go to a Christian church, they will often, in the middle of a sermon or in the middle of mass even, they'll say that, we have to be forgiven for our sins, so we have to pray and think about them, what we've done at this point, how we should be forgiven by God. When we are told to do that, the energy in thinking about your sin, it's actually really not good, especially since it's not empowering. When you feel separate from God, when you feel like He's way up here and you're way down here, it's making you look not very significant. And a lot of what Christian religions and Christians teach is that they say that we are sinners. We do make mistakes and we learn from them, and we continue to progress as time goes on. But a point that I want to make here is that Christians don't often think about the things that empower them. They think about what they've done and they hold on to that. That's something that it's inherent. It's like something you go through when you are a Christian, is that you are constantly thinking about how bad you are, what you've done wrong, and fearing that maybe you'll go to hell because you haven't been the best person. So you hold on to this guilt for a long time. It can really affect your health. That is something that really impacts you as a human being, because you just think that you can't ever progress, that you're always just going to be this sinner. You're not going to go anywhere in life because of that. But in Hinduism, they don't focus on their sins. That is something that is very empowering. And also, you feel connected to God because everything is one in Hinduism. So when you feel so connected, it makes you feel so empowered. You're not a drop in the universe, but you're the entire universe in one drop. That is what makes Hinduism so amazing. They really encourage you to find yourself. When you go to the temples, they have this amazing energy that is very uplifting. It's all based on science. There is a lot to say, and I don't know all the science behind everything, but it's just what I feel. When you go into a temple, it makes you feel so empowered that you can pretty much do anything you want to do in your life. I feel like that every day when I go there. I feel so energized, not thinking about my sin. It's just something that I've really enjoyed. It comes from the dynamic of science. When the mantras are chanted at the temple, they are emphasized through the structure of the temple, the way it's built. The stone that deities are made out of is black, and black often blocks out any negative energies. It blocks out those guilt feelings of sin. It blocks out other negative feelings, like maybe sadness that you're feeling, or anger, or any negative emotion. And that is from science that was introduced in very ancient times, before the Christian religion ever existed. So that's something that's very powerful. There's actually scientific proof nowadays. If you go to electromagnetic frequency readers, they will often have a meter that will be measuring some low frequencies in a particular place, or they will also measure the effects of like a microwave or 5G. Those things have a high impact on our bodies, just as the moon phases would have. This also has an impact on our bodies, is that these frequencies caused by 5G, by the microwave, by negative energies, all these really impact us. If you go to a house that has a lot of sadness in it from the past, you will put your electromagnetic frequency reader there and it will show a measurement of these low energies being very strong. If you go into a temple, these frequencies are blocked, these negative frequencies, because of these black stones that the deities are made out of. There's so much emphasis on everything being uplifted. Again, I want to reiterate that this is my experience of Christianity in general. I am not saying that Christianity teaches these things, but I am saying that this is what my experience has been, and this is what I've felt personally. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell if you would like to see more of my videos. After all, I'm just simply an American in love with the Indian culture. Ram Ram.
Oh my God.